Hi everybody, I'm Brady again from Freedom Physical Therapy. We're back again this week to give you another workout to start your new year right and get back into your fitness goals. So today's workout is all about core strength and glute strength and hip strength. It's all about strengthening those areas so that daily tasks become easier. If you have a strong foundation in your core and in your hips, you're going to have a lot easier time doing all sorts of different fitness activities, and it's going to make living a little less painful. It'll make you more functional. So today's workout, just like last week's workout, we're going to just get started with a warm-up and we're going to get right into it. So we're going to start with our walking warm-up again, just our marching. If you found that last week that the marching wasn't sufficient enough and you thought it was too easy, you can kind of step up the pace a little bit. And you can even get into some high knees or some jogging. And again, we're going to go for 30 seconds. Just getting the blood flowing. Good. And then you're going to give yourself a little bit of a rest. You can give yourself a full 30 seconds rest, or you can go right into the next one. And our next one today, we're going to do leg swings. So I'm using a chair. Ideally, you'd have a wall or something with a really firm base on it, because you're going to use it for balance a little bit. And we're going to start by just swinging our leg side to side, really getting loose. So from last week's workout, this is going to be a bit of a step up in terms of challenge. So if the one we did last week was too difficult, continue doing that workout 3 days a week and work up to 5 days a week. And once that becomes easy, then feel free to jump into this one. There will be some exercises in this workout today that you could be doing that aren't that difficult and you can try out, but if you have any pain or any discomfort, again, consult your doctor, physical therapist for more information. So once we've done our side-to-side leg swings, we're going to do front and back. We're going to plant our opposite foot from our anchor, and we're just going to swing that inside leg. Again, you're going for about 30 seconds with each of these. And you would normally face the other way for the second leg, but for our purposes, I'm going to face the camera. All right, so because we have such a strong focus today on our hips and our core, we're going to start with a hip flexor stretch. The reason we're doing that is a lot of us sit during the day and our hip flexors get tight and our glutes get turned off in terms of being activated. So we're going to get into a half kneeling position. I like to use a pad for my knee that's down, just purely for comfort and safety. We're going to be nice and tall with our chest. We're going to get nice and even with our hips. We're going to tuck our tails under our bodies. So tuck your butt. And we're going to come forward a little bit and we're going to pulse for 3 to 5 seconds and come back. And again, staying underneath and pulsing. It's not a huge movement. You should feel a little bit of a stretch kind of in your quad, in the top of your quad, and maybe up into your midsection just a little bit. And we're going to do 10 pulses of 3 to 5 seconds. So the reason we're not doing a static hold on this is we're trying to still keep our warm-ups dynamic in terms of we're about to prime our bodies for movement, not for elongating muscles. So we don't want to hold that static stretch for a long period of time, so we're just giving a little bit of a pulse into the hip flexor muscle and getting it going. This is a great one to do in the morning, even if you're not working out. It just gets your hips and your body kind of ready for the day. It's always good in the morning to get up and move. You'll find that you feel a little bit better if you do. Before your shower in the morning, you can do just even a light warm up for 5 minutes and it'll make you feel a little bit better. We're going to switch sides. Again, nice and tall. Tuck your hips, come forward, give a pulse for 3 to 5 seconds, come back. One thing you'll see a lot of people do is they won't tuck their tail, they'll kind of stick their butt out and they'll just come forward. And the problem with that is we're not actually getting any stretch into the hip flexor because we're so relaxed and those muscles aren't forced to stretch. So again, you gotta stay nice and tall, tuck your tail, and you'll feel that if you tuck your tail, you'll get more stretch than you would even if you are untucked and you're leaning as far forward as possible. So we really gotta stay upright, we gotta tuck our tail. So once you've done 10 of those on each side, we're going to keep our little mat down there. And I'm going to grab a fairly light dumbbell or kettlebell. You're going to want to start with probably around 5 pounds. And if that's too easy, you can feel it go up from there. I'm grabbed a 10-pound kettlebell, but a dumbbell or kettlebell will work. It could also be something around your home, a heavy textbook, something like that, where it just adds a little weight to this movement. So our first exercise in our workout, we're going to get in a tall kneel. If it's easier for me to show it, I can show it from the side. Again, we're going to activate our glutes. We're going to have a tight core, and we're going to hold the kettlebell or dumbbell from our hips, and we're going to come straight up. And we're going to do 10 of these. So keys during this exercise is we want to keep our upper traps relaxed, okay? We don't want to scrunch our necks and come up. We don't want to cause more problems than we're helping. We want to keep nice and firm in our core as the weight gets farther away from our body, and make sure we're nice and locked in through our glutes, keeping our base nice and tight. All right. Now once we're done with that one, you're going to do that exercise for 2 or 3 sets. You want to make sure that in this exercise routine, we're not doing it in a circuit. You want to do the exercise to completion of all 2 to 3 sets before you proceed on to the next exercise. Start out with 2 sets. If you get through the workout for the first time and you say that's easy, then feel free to add in the 3rd set for each exercise the next time you go through it. So the next exercise, we're going to continue with some lifts, but we're going to add a little bit of variation. So we're going to be in a half kneeling tall stance, and we're going to start our weight from our hip that has our knee down, and we're going to end up in this plane. We're going to bring our core and our glutes through a diagonal plane of motion. So we're going to start from the opposite hip, and we're going to come up 10 times, keeping nice and steady. Now we want to make sure we keep this glute very tight and our core engaged. Again, the cue I like to use for core engagement is if someone was going to punch you in the stomach, how would you contract to prevent that from hurting? It's not the most pleasant thing to think about, but I think it serves as a good reminder to keep your core nice and tight and give your body an idea of how it should brace your core effectively. Then once we're done, we're going to switch sides. And again, this one is 2 to 3 sets per side. So we want to make sure we're doing both sides on this one. All right, we want to make sure that in between each set we are taking a 30-second rest at least. If you need more time, please take it. We are more interested in doing these exercises correctly than getting through them fast. So if you can take a good rest so that you can be effective. So our next exercise is a classic exercise a lot of physical therapists will teach for glute strengthening, and it's the glute bridge. So we're going to do the double leg version of it. We're going to want to have a strong base, so we plant our hands down at the side, and we're going to plant our heels into the ground, and we want to think about pushing through our heels and not through the balls of our feet. So your feet can be flat, but you definitely want to push through your heels. So all you're going to do is you have your base, you have your heels ready to push through, and then you're going to think about squeezing your glutes together, squeezing your butt together, and bringing your hips off of the ground. And we're going to do 10. And at the top, you don't need to hold for a long time, but it is nice if you get to the top, if you can hold for a 1 or 2 count so that you know that your body is holding the activation. If you feel tightness in your hamstrings, make sure that you stop and change your positioning a little bit. Because if you're cramping up in your hamstrings, it probably means you're not using enough of your glutes. So if you do cramp up, move your heels out just a tad. And again, you can raise your toes off the ground if that helps. And you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to push from your heels, lifting your hips off the ground. Good. Again, 2 to 3 sets, depending on how confident you are. If that was super difficult, stick with 2 sets. Our next exercise, we're going to grab our weight again. This is one of my favorite exercises because it includes the squat. And the version of the squat we're going to do today is a goblet squat. So it's going to get the weight close to our body, but out in front of us to give us a counterweight to help us get nice and low and get the feel for the squat. If you're not confident in your squat yet, please use a chair or bands or hold on to somebody to make sure that you're safe in your home while doing this. How you do the goblet squat is you take your weight, you're going to want to get it very close to your chest. You're going to engage your core first, and then you're going to get about shoulder width. You're going to want to get your feet shoulder width apart, and we're going to squat back, pushing our butt backwards, keeping that weight in front. Nice tight core. We're going to go down and come back up. Okay, try to keep your chest nice and high. It helps for me to have my eyes towards the ceiling or towards the top of the wall. On our way up, we're engaging our core. We're pushing most of the weight through our heels. Making sure that we continue our breathing correctly. On the way down, I like to take my breath in and blow on the way out. Good. Again, 2 to 3 sets, depending on how difficult you felt that was. You can add or decrease the weight, or again, you can use the chair if you need to. All right, so our next few exercises are going to be on the mat again. We're going to target our glute minimus, medius, and maximus muscles with these next two. So the next one we're going to do is a donkey kick. So we're going to get down in a 4-point stance. I prefer everyone use a mat just for the safety of their knees and their wrists. And you're going to keep a nice neutral spine, and you're going to lift a leg backwards, keeping that knee bent at a 90-degree angle, if possible. And we're lifting straight back for 10 reps. Really focusing on thinking about engaging your butt muscles as you get to the top. And once we get to 10, we're going to go to the other side. Once we get to 10, again, we're gonna rest for about 30 seconds before going into our next exercise, or in this case, your next set. If you're feeling tired at any time throughout this workout, make sure you take a good break. Otherwise, just focus on breathing correctly, and you can continue with the workout then. So the next exercise, we're going to be in a similar 4-point stance, and we're going to lift our leg out sideways this time. Again, keeping that 90-degree angle between the hips and the knees. So we're going to go out to the side. Again, notice how I'm not opening up my hips or doing anything funny with my back to get any more motion. I just want to go as far as my hips will currently allow. other side. And again, once we're done, we're going to take another 30-second break. So the next exercise I'm going to show you, we're going to continue to work on that glute strength. If you're really feeling it right now and your glute muscles in your hips, take a little break again, but stick with it. You might feel a little sore after today's workout, especially in your hips and your glutes. That's okay. Make sure you're giving yourself a day of recovery in between workouts. And if you get to the time when you're scheduled to do your next workout and you're not feeling up to it and your body's telling you it's not ready yet, don't feel like you have to force anything. Give it another day and just reschedule that workout, but be consistent. As your strength gets better and your body gets used to more activity, it'll get easier and easier to hit those scheduled workouts. And if you stay active, you'll have less soreness overall after doing exercise. So the next exercise we're going to do is a clamshell. So you can do this exercise banded or unbanded. I'm going to show you both. So first we're going to show unbanded. So you're going to get into a sideline position and you're going to have your knees bent at about 90 degrees, your hips bent at about 90 degrees, or about 45 degrees. And we're going to stay leaned forward. We want to make sure that we don't lean backwards during this one. We're going to create a little bit of a space in between the knees, but we're going to keep the feet together as best as possible. So we're going to lean forward a little bit. If it helps you to be all the way down, you can feel free to do that. But I'm going to stay up on my elbow, making sure I'm not tipping backwards. And I'm going to create as much space in between my knees as I can, keeping my feet together, making sure I'm leaning forward. If I lean backwards to create more space, I'm not gaining any benefit. I'm just giving my body a way out of using the proper muscles for this exercise. So again, you're going to do 10 of those unbanded. If you don't want to add the band in yet, I recommend doing unbanded if it's your first time. If you have done clams before and you want to add a layer of difficulty to it, you're going to get an exercise band that's in a loop, and you're going to place it around the top of your knees. Make sure that they're not right on the joint, but just above. You're going to get on your side again. And again, we're going to keep our feet together as best as possible. And we're going to create that space between our legs. Keeping rolled forward, not backward. Keeping our core nice and engaged. This one, at the end of a few sets, you're definitely going to feel a burn in your glute. Again, that one we're going to do 2 to 3 sets of 10 per side. So I didn't show the other side because I'd be facing away from the camera. So at home, you're going to make sure you do both sides, 2 to 3 sets of 10 reps. So our next exercise, we have a few ways of doing it. We're going to get rid of our mat for a little bit here. I'm gonna grab a chair, something sturdy. It could be something as simple as a walking stick, but anything that'll give you a little bit of a base of support. And we're gonna go through a single leg deadlift. Single leg deadlift is great for the posterior chain, meaning your glute, hamstring, calf muscles. But if you're not balanced, it can be a little unsafe. So definitely gauge if this is going to be a safe activity in your home. If it's not, make sure you have somebody help you. Don't do it at all, or make sure you put in the proper safety precautions. So single leg deadlift, we want to think about having kind of a line drawn from our butt through our back and up to our head. And if there was a line or a stick there, all of those during the whole exercise would touch your butt, the middle of your back, and the back of your head. All right. So first, if you're going to do the single leg deadlift, do it without any weight. Make sure that you have something to kind of hold on to. Okay. We have our base in the opposite hand of our plant leg. So in this case, I'm going to plant on my right leg, which means that I want whatever I'm holding to be in my left hand. So if I have a stick or a walking cane or a chair, or if there's a wall on this side of me, just to make sure that I don't topple over sideways and injure myself. So you start straight, okay, and you're going to keep that straight line in between your butt, back, and your head, and you're going to lean forward. Think about placing the weight on your plant leg into your heel. And notice that I'm trying not to over adjust this way, and I'm not closing my hips off. I'm staying nice and neutral, okay? I'm kind of using my back leg as a counterweight. Okay, and as I get more steady, I can start to take my hand off of whatever I'm using for balance and maybe hovering it, and if I need it, it's there, but I want to try to use my core and my glute to stabilize. Again, we're going to do 10 on each side, making sure we're not arching forward, or keeping our good posture for this exercise. If that becomes easy and you want to add a little weight, you can feel free to do so. Again, once you get rid of your anchor or your stabilizer and you add a weight, your weight is going to go in the opposite hand of your stance leg. So again, if I was going to plant this time with my left leg, I'm going to keep the weight in my right leg. So from forward, again, it looks nice and tall. I'm coming down. Notice I'm keeping the weight relatively close to my body, okay? I'm not holding it way out here. In fact, my shoulder isn't much involved at all. All it's doing is the weight here should pretty much stay in the same place. It's just going to drop a little bit. Oop, lost my balance there. Again, anchoring through my heel on my left leg. Here's how it looks from the side. Once you feel like you have the hang of it and you can get through 2 to 3 sets of 10 on each leg, you can add the weight and increase the difficulty that way. So our last exercises for today, we're gonna really burn out our glute muscles by doing a clinic favorite monster walks. So to do monster walks, you're gonna need a band, and you're gonna place the band around your ankles. We're gonna do 2 versions of the monster walk today. So the first version of the monster walk, we're gonna stay about shoulder width apart with our feet. We're gonna get into an athletic stance, and I'm gonna walk forwards and I'm gonna walk backwards, but I'm gonna keep my glutes engaged, and I don't wanna let my feet slip to the inside. I want them to stay shoulder width. We're gonna get nice and athletic, okay? And we're gonna step forwards for the length of a room, 10, 15 feet. And then you're gonna walk backwards. Okay, again, keeping those feet shoulder width apart. We're keeping those glutes engaged. If you get to a length of a room and you need a break, feel free to stand up. Take a 5 to 10 second break, get right back into it, and come forward again. Okay, you control the difficulty with these. So you want to go to a little bit of a burn, but you don't want to totally tire yourself out because we've got one more exercise. Okay. If you can go a few lengths of the room without resting, you can use that as a set. Do 2 to 3 sets, and then continue on to the next exercise. So the next version of the monster walk is a side-stepping monster walk. And depending on what we want to accomplish, we can stay relatively upright, or we can get into an athletic stance. I'm going to show the upright version first. So you're going to start shoulder width, and you want to think about never having no tension in the band. So I never want my feet to come close together. But I can start here. I stay relatively tall, and I would just walk. Again, my band always has tension, and I'm just gonna go back and forth. You're really gonna feel a burn on this one in your hips. Okay, and if you want to add a little bit of a different variation, you can get down into a little quarter squat, and same thing with the side steps. Keeping tension in the band. And again, with this one, we're going to want to go for about 10 or 15 feet, or the length of a room, and you're just going to go back and forth. Okay, until you really start feeling a burn. Go just a little bit past that burn and go for a little while longer, and then give yourself a break. Again, 2 to 3 sets of that one. So that is the end of the workout in terms of all of the main exercises that we're doing. If you're at the end of the workout, and because we really worked your glutes today and your core today, there are a few things, a few stretches, or a few cool down activities that you can do to hopefully reduce some of the muscle soreness. And the big one for me is I like to foam roll a little bit after my workouts. So they're pretty inexpensive. You can pick one up at your local sporting goods store. A lot of times your physical therapist office will carry them with them. And the great thing about the foam roller is they're versatile. You can work all parts of the body, but I particularly like them for the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quads, especially after an exercise like this that uses those muscles a lot. So the first, I'm going to show you today how to roll out your glutes. If you want more information on how to roll out your hamstrings and your quads, you can leave us a comment below. We can definitely do videos on that. We also have a wealth of information on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook and Instagram pages. So, rolling out your glutes, we're going to kind of sit on the foam roller to start. We're going to want to make sure that when you're on the foam roller, general safety rule of thumb is to keep 3 points of contact. So generally that's either your feet or your hands. You want to make sure there's 3 points so that you're not falling over sideways. The first, we're going to roll out our glutes by placing our hand down. We're going to cross our leg onto our knee, and we're just going to simply roll back and forth along our butt. We're going to start from the midline, so kind of start almost on both cheeks, if you will. You're going to spend about 30 seconds to a minute, minute and a half, just rolling out. You're really looking for spots that kind of give you that little indication that, oh man, that's a tight spot, and you're going to want to focus on that area for a little bit longer. So you kind of want to search and destroy those soft spots, those spots that cause you a little bit of discomfort. And you start from the midline, and you can slowly work your way to the side and just really feel out where you're sore. And again, with that, it's 30 seconds to a minute and a half on those spots. And relax. I like to watch TV while I'm doing it, but just give it some time. Spend some time helping your body recover, and it'll thank you for it later. Thanks for tuning in this week. If you have any questions on the workout, feel free to leave us a comment, and we'll make sure we get those questions answered. And other than that, just keep consistent with your workout goals in 2019. If this workout was too difficult for you, again, go back to the first one that we did, get comfortable with that one, and then progress to this one. And other than that, have a great day, and happy working out.